And so here we are, and here we begin. This is the first stream on YouTube of my channel called Flight Past. Hope you're all well, and I hope you can hear me properly. The channel Flight Past is dedicated to looking at history from the air using Microsoft Flight Simulator. And so this is the first flight in that simulator, and where else better to do it at the place where the first flight happened, which is here at Kill Devil Hills. This is in North Carolina. Many people probably remember Kitty Hawk, which actually is 4 miles in that direction. But this is the place where Wilbur Wright and Orville Wright did their first flight. It was the first flight of a controlled, engine-powered, heavy aircraft, which was called the Wright Flyer. And it happened on the 17th of December 1903. So today is the 17th of December 2025, so this occurred 125 years ago. So this is the first video that I'm doing of this, and so I'm going to take a little bit of time to explain what the channel's about, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened here, and I'll introduce you what I hope will happen over the next few weeks. The channel is called Flight Past. It's a cross between streaming and a podcast. Takes its inspiration from podcasts such as The Rest is History, the Ways of Making You Talk podcast by The Rest is History by Tom Holland and Dominic Sandbrook, and I highly recommend that. And The Ways of Making You Talk podcast is by James Holland, Tom's brother, and Al Murray. The James Holland and Al Murray also do a YouTube channel called Walking the Ground, and that's where they go off and they look at places, events that happened during the Second World War, and they walk the ground and they talk about the history. This year, as you may or may not know, Microsoft Flight Simulator launched their 2024 version, and this is what I'm flying now. And it uses satellite imagery to recreate areas of the world. And in some places it uses photography to recreate the buildings as well. And so there's a cross there. I felt that there was a good opportunity to use this simulator to talk about history. I have streamed Flight Simulator before, but after a while, you get this sort of talking about the same things, about the aircraft, that's been done, and there's lots of very good people out there who do that. Give a shout out to people like Durka and Cowtown. They have a really cool sort of laid-back attitude to flight simming, and they're worth checking out. They're very good pilots, know what they're doing. Of course, you can go to huge extremes with the flight simulating, but I'm not a pilot. I have flown, but I'm not a pilot. I am an amateur historian. But I thought this would be a good place to start a community to discuss these things. Now, this is live. I didn't want it to be scripted. I wanted you good people to come out, and you can fly with me on the simulator if you've got it. I'm on Western Europe servers, so you can just land here at Kill Devil Hills, and we'll see you flying around. You can join in the discussion on YouTube. Any comments, you can help out. And there's a Discord channel as well that I've set up, so if you want to contribute any information, then please do. And it will be live for that reason. In this day and age, I don't think it needs to be too polished. So forgive me any bumblings. Forgive any sort of errors. But please get in touch if you feel like something is amiss. So this is the sort of detail you get in this flight simulator. I can read this. In commemoration of the conquest of the air by the brothers Wilbur and Orville, Wright, conceived by genius and achieved by dauntless resolution and unconquerable faith. So why here, and why on the 17th of December, which is, I know this is North Carolina, but it's still winter? Well, there's a number of reasons, possibly, for them choosing this spot. This is on the Outer Banks. These are sand dunes, sandbars, sandbanks, whatever you want to call them. This is a large dune. I mean, this is ideal place to test. In 1900 and 1902, they were working on gliders, and so this is a great place to come. Nice and open. Consistent coastal winds, soft sand, and remote. Even though all these buildings are here, in 1903 this wasn't, and this is why most people know it as Kitty Hawk, because that was the only town in the area, which was, as I said before, was 4 miles up that way. We all know, of course, that Wilbur and Orville were mechanics, basically, bicycle mechanics. But they had a keen interest in flight, and this is a very important time in the build-up towards the invention of flight. There was loads of work being done. And we know that the Wright brothers contacted the Smithsonian Institute to get as much information as possible about the development of flight. In 1903, Wilbur was 36 and his brother was 32. Orville had dropped out of school in 1889, and his brother was looking after with his brother as well. His mum was ill, and they were looking after her back in Dayton, Ohio, and this is where they began their engineering careers. They were obviously fantastically inquisitive minds. They were building printing presses. They started a printing business. Then they moved on in 1892 to make a bicycle company. And they started designing bicycles that were basically where the wheels were the same size rather than the penny farthing. And their business was a lot of sales of bikes and repairs of bikes. And this is the business that they used to start to fund their interests in flight. One of their biggest inspirations was a guy called Otto Lilienthal. I hope I said that right, of Germany. And Wilbur said that he was without question the greatest of the precursors, and the world owes him a great debt. Carl Lilienthal, he was a German pioneer of aviation. He was developing a lot of gliders in the 1890s, and he did a lot of work. And this is the information that the Wright brothers were trying to achieve from the Smithsonian Institute to try to get as much information about his aerofoils. Other influences at the time, very early on, was Sir George Cayley, and he was the guy. He was born in the 18th century, died in 1857, but he worked on the four forces of flight: weight, lift, drag, and thrust. And the last guy was Octave Chanute, and he was French guy. He was known as the father of aviation, and he had many early concepts for the heavier than flying machine. So what you do get is a sense that the Wright brothers knew how important this invention would be. And so why here in December? Well, I think it was kind of like, get it done and get it done quick. And so they came here. It's also away from competitors, but they definitely knew they were onto something because they had a camera ready for when it happened. This, I think, is a very good place for a glider. But as we see, is probably not where the actual takeoff occurred. down here, and we can see where it is believed that they actually took off from. This railing here, I believe, represents the catapult system. So the aircraft would be sat on here on its skids. It would have a weight over here, and that would catapult the flyer that way. Now, if I can just slow this down a bit. And here is the rock. This is the marks the first successful flight of an aeroplane. 17th of December 1903. So the race was on to be the first successful invention. In 1896, Samuel Langley flew an unmanned steam-powered fixed-wing aircraft. So all of the information from Octave Chanute, the Lilienthal, they're all coming together, and Samuel Langley does this powered glider, unmanned powered glider. Samuel Langley just happened to be the Smithsonian Institution secretary. So if you know the story, then this guy is why there's a bit of controversy about who was the first to fly, but eventually it was resolved in obviously in the Wright brothers being given the honor. So the Wright brothers transported their flyer here and assembled it on site. They had multiple technical difficulties, but they actually came here in September 1903. So we're talking, good 3 months from when they arrived and they were building the flyer and trying to resolve things to actually get the attempt done. They had multiple propeller shaft problems, and they had to keep on going back to Dayton, Ohio. So they were ready to fly on the 13th of December, but that was a Sunday, so they decided to out of reverence to postpone, and they took the first flight here, as we say, on the 14th, and it was piloted by Wilbur. Now they believe, so it lasted 3 seconds. Now I don't know why that wasn't deemed the first flight, but it damaged the it wasn't, I suppose it wasn't controlled, and because it wasn't controlled it didn't count. So anyway, they had minor damage, went back in, fixed it, came back here on the 17th. Conditions are cold, windy from the reports of the day. They did do 4 flights, and the first one was by Orville, and this is it. This is the first flight. They say it was timed at 12 seconds. Probably started off from that rock there, landed here, and this was on the morning of the 17th. Then we get another attempt. This time it's by Wilbur. Get a sort of sense of competition, and he does 175 feet. Last 12 seconds. And then Orville attempts it again, and he gets to 200 feet. So this is one morning in the progression that's occurring. And then the last flight, let's speed this up a bit, was by Wilbur. And almost a minute, 852 feet. So in one day, I mean, that, if you had a timeline, and down there is 1903, and well, up here is I would even say, like, I don't know, the First World War, you know, it's exponential in its scope. So let's go fly a kite, and I've set it up over here. And this is it. This is the Wright Flyer. You've got Orville sitting there. Just gonna bit sensitive on the controls. Okay, so what we noticed, well, we noticed straight away, you know, that these guys knew what they were doing. All of these elements are still in modern aircraft. You've got a rudder to control yaw. You've got aerofoils. You've got an elevator for pitch. Even though, okay, the Wright Flyer doesn't have ailerons, which will be here. Orville here is lying down in a cradle, and that cradle he can use his hips, and that would warp the aerofoil, so that would allow them an element of roll. So we've got all that element of control there. They weren't just, you know, craftsmen of wood and cloth. They understood torque drift, and that's where, as a propeller spin, the aircraft will try to yaw in that direction. And many of us did physics, sat on a stool in a class and with a spinning gyro, and you get that torque drift, as you know. And they counteracted that by having two propellers, one spinning clockwise and one spinning anti-clockwise. It's got two propellers. They're push propellers. And got the engine here. Now this was made from aluminium, I believe. Let me just check my notes. Yeah, so it's made from aluminium. It's got a yeah, it's a straight 4 cylinder water-cooled piston engine, produces 12 horsepower. And yeah, they situated on the right-hand side of the aircraft as you're facing forward, so the pilot is acting as a counterweight on there. Simple pulley system for weight, drops the weight, pulls the aircraft along the rail and into the sky. No wheels, just skids. Okay, so let's have a little fly of this beast. I know it's going to end badly, so this will probably crash. Now, I think we just start the engine and then go full throttle, and we'll see how it happens. Okay. Full throttle. Okay, we get the well, that didn't last very long. Really tricky to fly, but as you see, it keeps crashing. And this is it. And it gets annoying after a while. It's so difficult to fly. Oh, okay. We got it. I think we try a bank here. Never ever got this high. We've got a bit of a hang to it there. Kitty Hawk is up there. Yay. Okay. So let's just all right, there we go. There we go. Let's get to an aircraft that I can actually fly. Let's go to the next generation of aircraft. Which is, I think, the Jenny. There we go. So this is 1903. We get to this stage pretty quick. If I find this. So this is the Curtiss Jenny. This aircraft is let's get this, this aircraft was first introduced in 1915, so we're talking only 12 years from the Wright brothers' flight. Manufactured by Curtiss, 6,813 of these were produced. Has a crew of 2, so we're getting we've already increasing the I think this is used as a trainer. Similar wing span. The engine now though is a V8 water cooled, and it's got a 90 horsepower. This has got a maximum speed of about 75 miles an hour. Can get up to 6,500 feet, and it's got a range of about 135 miles. This is the aircraft that features. It's quite a cool story about this one. This, if you remember the film Brewster's Millions, this is the aircraft that's on the stamp that's called the inverted Jenny, which is a 24-cent stamp, and it's where Richard Pryor is trying to get rid of all his millions. He buys one of these stamps. To try to spend all his money to get an inheritance. So this is the Jenny. We will try to land this one. I'm not very good on these biplanes. Just trying to find the airfield. Just do a rough landing here. So apart from the fact that I'm not on the runway, that wasn't a bad landing. This doesn't have brakes. So we'll just coast to a stop here. And there we go. The Jenny. So let's go. Let's find another generation of aircraft, which will be the North American P51. Remind me to. So we're talking here 1942. Just to 1942 was when it first came out. So remind me to put these dates on there just in case people come in and want to know what we're talking about. So, and we're gonna go, let's go to Normandy, because this is where this aircraft really shines. And we just fly around there for a bit. This brings me on to the subject, talk about what we're going to do in the future. We're going to, in the future, be doing lots of different subjects. And one of them will be D-Day. So we'll be flying around this area quite a lot, talking about what's going on. This is what I mean. This gives you a very good perspective on what it was like to fly Air Cap over Normandy. As the Normandy campaign progresses, we start to see the airfields being built on Normandy, and of course then these guys have got a view over the landscape, so they can spot German troop movements, and this is why they have such an advantage at that time. So we will be doing subjects like this. My interests are World War II, First World War, Napoleonic Wars, but we'll be doing other things as well. If you go to the links in the channel description, you'll see there's a Discord channel, and that's where I will be putting all the subjects that we'll be tackling, and if you want to contribute at any point, then you can just go to the subject, add what you need to do there. So this is the P51 Mustang, if you remember the film Empire of the Sun. This is the Cadillac of the skies. First flight was in 1940. And it was actually operated by the RAF in 1942 operationally. This one's got a Merlin engine. It's 12 cylinders. So we're now talking about 1,500 horsepower. This is, I believe that's Port Le Besson down there, so we're talking Mulberry Harbour. So we'll just fly this way for a bit. We should come to, this is Gold Beach. We'll then come to Juneau and then to Sword Beach. P51 Mustang can cruise at 315 knots. We can reach 42,000 feet. We're looking. This is the peak of fighter design, World War II. It's 15,500 of these were produced, and they were still being operated in 1984 by the Dominican Air Force. What's really good about this flight sim as well is that we can do things like this, which is we can literally jump out of the aircraft, so we can parachute in. So whenever there's something we want to talk about in detail, then we can just float down and have a look around. So I think we're probably talking about Gold Beach here. So we can actually parachute in. Check this out. And this is the view you would have got if you were approaching on a landing craft on the 6th of June 1944. So hopefully we can investigate battles and campaigns using this tool. So I hope you found that interesting. It is just a glimpse into what's going to be happening. Next week we will be starting on D-Day. In fact, we'll be doing the planning of D-Day. Specifically, we'll be operating, starting off on the eastern side of the invasion beaches with Operation Tonga, which is the British airborne operation part. And then we'll go over to the Yucatan Peninsula, which is over there, and we'll do the US airborne landings, and then we'll work through the beaches. We'll do Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and then Sword, and we should join up the story back at Pegasus Bridge, which is over there. And then in the future, then I'll do Normandy as well. Just one thing as well, this is on YouTube. I will be doing these as well on Twitch. Now, what I was thinking of doing is not multi-streaming, but doing separate streams, because I think Twitch doesn't like you not paying attention to the chat. And I'm sure that I'm not going to pay attention to the chat. So I thought I'd use Twitch as a reconnaissance flight. We will use it to investigate places, pick up questions, and then allow me to do some additional research and incorporate your questions into this stream. So the YouTube channel side of it is more of the actual mission. We'll be flying around, actually doing more of the history side. Twitch stuff, I believe it's only up there for a few weeks, and if so, I'll download that and put those ones onto Spotify. So you can be able to pick up these streams on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Spotify. And I hope that sounds good to you. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for watching. And I will see you next week, where we will begin over there at Pegasus Bridge. So thanks for watching.